6:35, and we're now calling the meeting to order. And attendance, Lane, you're here?
I am.
Katie is here, I'm here.
Mostly.
And anybody look at the minutes?
Oh, yeah, I will right now.
Yeah.
I wasn't here.
Yeah. Looked okay to me?
Right, this was the one that I was here for April. And we did not meet in May, right?
So we just have a few items. Marketing services at Seago Media. The only thing I could talk about that is that they've been doing the videos and they're getting some decent traction. Terry had told me that the mayor's videos range between 8 and 200 views, and they were generally going higher. So that's something. Any comments about what should be talking to Otsego Media about?
No, I'll just say I think the videos are good. I think they've been generally well received. They're short, clear message. Yeah. You mean in talking about to Otsego Media about like things that are going on in the city that we want the community to know about? Okay. Anything that wouldn't already be on his radar?
Yeah, because it's like events, right, is the main focus and things
Okay.
going on. And I know that,
Looking ahead. to
right, I
what
was
the
gonna say
events are
part of the
going to be.
strategy this year was looking ahead because now he has footage, and stuff to use from last year. So I think that is helpful. I think, certainly with the summer coming up, there's a lot of music and other events going on in the parks that would be really good to highlight. But again, I think those are things that are on the radar.
Yeah.
So
The only thing that I know of that may not be is Art in Bloom, but that's next weekend. So I don't know when his next
This
thing
coming
is coming
weekend or
up?
the following?
the
weekend?
following weekend, so a week and a half.
Mhm.
It's at Kano, and the opening reception is on Friday the 12th from
I saw something about that.
5. Let me look it up. And that's cool and could use, a lot of communities have them and they're very popular, so I think that
Mhm.
could use a little more publicity.
another thought I have as far as things that could be covered, it's not an actual event, but one of the things that we talked about on council was, making sure, like utilizing Muller Plaza and especially the Al Galladero stage that is now there. And we talked about how, there is music that's booked there for, certain times, but when it's free, we want people to use it. And then we talked about like how to get people to use it. Maybe if Otsego Media could do, cover about the stage and what the city hopes to do with the usage, that would be good. Because I was also thinking about how Fordu is right around the corner there, and they're going to be operating a summer camp for teens.
Oh,
Right.
that's
Is
great.
what I heard. So that might be a really good connection, I was thinking, to help, bring some life, to that stage and get people using it on a more casual and impromptu basis.
Okay, so it's Fordu?
Well, yes,
It's
they
one
are
of the
there
things
too.
that,
They're one of the ones that I
should,
was thinking would be a
right.
good, way to strengthen the use of the stage
Mhm.
because they are there. They're only one of the, entities there. But I think in general, just getting out the message that the stage is a place that we want the community to
And
use.
we want younger people to use it too.
Yeah, like,
That's important.
if it's open, anybody can use it. If it's
Mhm.
people who are lugging around instruments and they want to sit down and play some songs, that's great. If it's kids and they just want to play act their own thing, that's
That's
awesome
very
too.
good.
We just want it to be utilized as much as possible.
I believe there are 23 scheduled performances.
Yeah, I saw like all through June, July, August, and into
Right,
September.
right.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
starting
think
next
it's
week, right?
2 days a week.
Yeah.
I think it's, I'm not sure when it
Yeah, I
starts.
think
It's
I
coming
was
up
just
soon.
looking earlier because I was talking to somebody about it, and it starts the 12th, and it's Friday and Saturdays.
Mhm.
But yeah, so any other time that there's not something else scheduled, I think it'd be just great to get out that message now,
I will,
as
mention
things
it.
are getting warmer and school's gonna be letting out here soon. It would be great to see, young people and anybody using that space and, seeing that space getting attention.
Mhm.
I think that makes me think broadly of the things that we would like to promote through Otsego Media and through the mayor's videos. And so, you had mentioned events, but also we could be thinking about, or even just suggest to the mayor to be thinking about for his videos, like what assets we have in the city that we want to highlight. The stage is one. One of the things that is kind of a best kept secret, and it's not like a city asset, but there's like a fountain type thing on SUNY Oneonta campus that kids like
Oh,
love.
that's
Or
fun. You stand there and you get
so
hit in the
good.
face with water.
Yeah, and like it's like the people who go up to SUNY Oneonta know about it, but and I don't know how good they'll feel about people like flooding up there on a hot day, but just like hidden gems.
It's
or
a public space, I think anybody can go stand there.
yeah, you wouldn't be like kicked out. I just don't want to
No.
like say like, hey, everybody go up there, and then they're like, wait, and they end up putting a fence around it or something.
Well,
but like,
I'll look into it and see what I can find
Yeah.
out about that, because that is I like that thing.
yeah, I mean, just like hidden gems in the city too, like how to get to Table Rocks, for tourists or whatever, stuff like that. But then, I mean, thinking about things that the city owns, I don't know what, like highlight the pool and the pool hours, or I don't know,
Yeah.
just stuff that,
Because they're gonna be doing signups for the swim lessons too, so something like
that's
that might
true.
be a good,
yeah, just more information about city stuff would be cool.
Okay, so I'll talk
Places,
to Corey and to Kanye
events.
about it.
Cool.
All
Yeah.
right, that's good.
And maybe that could even be like maybe they're instead of, or a different way to look at it rather than like events and assets is like, what are people trying to do? So like on a hot day, if you're trying to like beat the heat, you could go to the pool, you could go to this place in SUNY, you could go get ice cream at a local ice cream shop, and then we highlight a business. Like, so maybe it's taking that approach as opposed to like, look at this thing. It's like, are you hot? Here's what you could do. Are you looking for adventure? Here's what you could do. Are you on to something delicious? Maybe you could.
You just
I don't
used the Anta.
I sure did. Because then they could highlight like a couple of things in the video instead of like one. That might be
Okay.
more
I will,
impactful.
I
Things
will
like that
try.
might be more relevant to tourists too.
Yeah, true.
Well, that's one of the things that,
Yeah.
when we get to the next item, we have
Mhm.
to talk about.
Okay. Cool.
So you want to move on to the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the way I see the website is, it should do two things. One is, what it's doing now is if you have questions about any of the city services, if you need to contact the city clerk or the fire department or whatever, the information on there is pretty good, I think. You could always tweak something, but it accomplishes what it's supposed to do. The other thing is what the mayor wants us to figure out, and that is how to attract people to come here, whether they're tourists or want to move here or a business that could locate here. I'm not sure how you do that. I mean, if you have a website that has all the bells and whistles and flashy lights and all that stuff, do we want to, is that what we want? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think we should be doing with that?
Yeah, and I know we've gone back and forth on this a couple times, because I know from speaking to our clerk, there's
Right, because Terry's
keeping,
on this,
having,
she manages it.
distinction between these two things is really important too. Because how much can the website do and how much can we manage in a way that's going to keep it relevant and looking nice and functioning well, right?
Functioning the way that it is.
Yeah, because I think that was, is that correct, that like that idea of it becoming too cumbersome,
I
right?
think, yeah, because you
Yeah.
put too much information on there and then you can't find anything that
Right,
Mhm.
right.
we did, we did a really good job in putting information on there.
Mhm.
But we almost did too good of a job. There's too much on there.
I understand what you're saying.
There are other websites that we have found, other references, because why reinvent the wheel, find
Mhm.
what's working.
Yep.
City of Sherrill, or Town of Sherrill, I think it's a city, in New York, has a pretty decent website. They have the information, it's focused well. They have that welcome neighbor information that, well, you're looking to move here in the form of a newsletter brochure that they put together, which we've started looking at to see if that's something that we can take into, you know,
So it's
explain
digital or on paper?
both,
On both,
Yeah.
okay.
both, so that it's accessible.
That's where I was kind of wondering, you know, because it seems to me like and we're not just talking about tourists here, it's really for people who are outside the city, right? You know, because it sounds like tourists, folks who are really interested in coming to the city, right? And I just wonder if there's a role that, you know, like you said, linking in with some of the already existing websites that are out there, you know, managed by other
Well, I have a question about
entities
that
like
linking.
nonprofits and businesses and
Right,
things
I have a
like that.
question about that linking, so it would take you off our website to something else?
Yeah, and I imagine it would probably be one of those things where, you know, it's like, are you a visitor? Or, you know, whatever the tagline is, you click on that and then you have choices. And when you click on it, it says you are leaving. I mean, usually I'm used to getting those
You
kind of
get a heads
notices,
up.
right? Like you are leaving our website. Do you want to do that? And
Right.
so
Do
it
we
lets
want to
them
do that?
know
That's my
that
question.
it's not an official city website, but
Right.
that we're linking to somebody else's information.
Right,
But
do
it
we
can
want,
be.
do we want to do that?
I mean, well, when it comes down to how much can our current web manager handle, and, you know, how much, and then the quality of the product that we want to get from this. I mean, I'm sure Carrie could say, yeah, I'll build something, but does she have time to maintain it then?
Right, that, yeah,
So-
but do we want to also have a button that sends you to someone else's website? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm not saying
think-
yes or no, I'm
But it
asking
doesn't
if
have
we
to go
want
to
to do
someone
that.
else's website per se, so we have Explore Oneonta, which is a great asset
Yeah.
for visitors and tourists and people who are looking for that short-term stay here. That's something that we own, that Corey manages for us,
Yeah.
but we built that.
Right,
So we are able to put that visitor information, you know, are you visiting Oneonta? They click
Yeah.
that link, it takes them there. It's still our site, we still have the ability to control the information,
Yeah.
but it's taking you away from that municipal function
Yeah.
that the
We
user
already
typically
have that.
expect.
yeah,
Right, so
We've
that's,
done that.
it's just
Right.
a change in layout
Yeah.
for our
Right.
existing website.
yeah. I mean, it works, yeah. I mean, are you suggesting we do it a different way? or-
I'm suggesting we do that, we lean more into it. There's no real, and that could be an operator issue on our part. There's no real steering of people to that Explore Oneonta. I mean, we have it on the display screen downstairs. We have it in some of our releases that go out, but it's not really pushed as
Yeah.
much as it probably could. But I also think with that, our contract with Revise is either up or coming up. We're going to need a new
Okay.
website vendor. We could stick with the one that we have. I have to be honest, I'd be very disappointed if we did stay with them. Their content management software platform is difficult. We don't have as much control over the website as we did with previous vendors. There are a number of things that maybe not huge, but put all together.
So we would have to put out a call for
We
bids,
would go out for a request for quotes or request for proposals. Yeah.
right?
Okay. So, and
So,
also,
well, I
yeah,
have a
go
question
for
about that. So, do we do that now?
I would like to do it now.
Okay, so, how do we just say we want to do it, or do we have to go to the council? or
You
what do
just
we do?
give us a, yeah, we're interested as well.
Well, rather than wait, do we want to just, what do you both think? Do we want to ask Carrie to do that?
I feel like what I keep hearing is how difficult this website is to manage, and that Carrie is the only one who can manage it because it's so difficult to manage.
I mean, Greg is able to help.
And, okay,
Yeah, no,
So, I mean, I know that
Yes.
you're not the sole person, but
Just
you
wanna
are
take credit
the
where it's
main person. You are
Yes.
the main person who's handling it. And, I don't feel like I've heard positive feedback about this website.
Yeah.
The current provider that we use. So, and I don't have a lot of experience with other providers, but if we're not having a good experience with this, and you know that there are other ones that, have better services, I think it would make sense to look at that. And personally, I do like the idea of separating out those, it's still a city managed website, but I think it makes sense to separate out those two purposes.
I agree.
And I like that we have an organization that is not municipal based that is helping to manage that too. Because I think that's really what we're getting at, that we want that strictly municipal site, but that we also want something that reaches out to the community in a different kind of way. And I think that's a little more than what, City Hall can do. And I think that's why I like that Explore Oneonta is involved with that, because that's that piece of, what is going on,
What's happening?
Yeah.
So do we want to ask Carrie to, request bids?
I think so,
Yeah, I would
especially
recommend that.
because if the contract is gonna be up next year, it would be good to know ahead of the budget what
Yes.
a new
Mhm.
vendor
Yes.
is gonna cost. And I think we should have a
So,
new vendor.
Yep.
Terry, do we have to have a
Absolutely.
formal vote of that? We just say, okay.
No,
Terry,
this is just
you're
to
in
get
favor of it,
numbers,
yeah.
so, and then we
I'm
can
in favor.
review it, I am too.
Yes,
Absolutely.
are we voting? Yes.
No.
It's unanimous.
Yep, but it gets us started somewhere, so that we can consider it for the budget season, which we know is fast approaching. And we're gonna need, these are the kinds of things that we come to, and we're like, oh, that would be great, but we didn't get enough information yet, so
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm.
So
I
how
like
long
that.
does that take?
We have one basically put together with the hopeful anticipation that that's how this would go. So we'll just tweak it a little bit and we'll get it out. I would say we'd have
Okay,
numbers within a month or so.
Oh, wow.
So that's very
All right.
good.
Yeah,
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 Cool.
it's already built.
Okay.
Sometime during the
Nice.
summer, we'll
Yeah.
hopefully have something to look at.
that would be
Well,
great.
that's very good.
Progress.
Do you, when you do that, do you put a range of prices or you just?
We tell them what we want and then they tell us what they can do and at what cost.
I
Okay.
got it, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then that way, okay, this one might cost a couple thousand less, but it doesn't allow us to do this, which this one does.
Yeah.
So
And then the council decides.
the council decides.
And I think just, also considering not just the end of folks who are, entering the information, but folks who are looking at the information. I think we've heard enough public input that people want to see
Different.
something different.
Right.
And I think this would be a great opportunity for that.
So what is that called?
Request for quotations,
A request for quotations?
RFQ. Yeah. Or probably an RFP. Probably a request for proposals.
Okay.
Because quote would imply that we're telling them exactly what we want. Proposal, we're telling them what to do.
Gotcha.
Request for,
Yep.
Proposals, sorry.
request for proposals.
Okay.
All right, so that's important, you got that. All right. So the next item is number C in the strategic communications plan. So isn't that up to, we're having a strategic plan done and well, there's the two plans, right? that we're
Separate.
working on. So do we want to want to have input on that for when it comes to communications, or come back and wait until we see what they're coming back with?
For what, the strategic plan you're saying?
The strategic.
Or this is something
communications plan.
specific, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The
This
thing
is
is,
separate.
I'd be right, it's separate or is it
Right, yeah.
included?
It's how the city wants to communicate
Yeah.
and receive communications and the channels that we're going to use, at what point we send out a press release, how we distribute press releases, the chain of it's,
Right,
yeah.
but that, what we're doing is working, right?
Oh,
Not really.
Yeah, I would
I
not
would
say
disagree.
so.
Yeah.
I think everybody's efforts and intentions are where they need to
Totally.
be. I think it's just looking at the overall plan,
So what should we be doing? And what do you
Communicating more
want to do?
and quicker.
Yeah.
What's that?
People want more communication and they want it faster.
Yeah.
I mean, just like talking about, getting the
Right,
news
how
about
do we
the
do
fire
that?
today.
What kind of recommendations do
Yeah.
you want to make?
Well, that's what we gotta talk about. I think one of the things that we've talked about is, investing more into communications, in one way or another, whether that be some kind of position or other contract, that, invests more directly towards our communication plan. We had talked last year, a great deal during the budget season about having a communication position.
Mhm.
And everybody agreed that that was needed, but we couldn't fund it. So I think
Right.
that's really right?
We've
Where
been
this
trying for years
conversation kind
since
of
that
comes back.
station was
I was
changed.
gonna say it comes back to that, but that's not where it started.
No, but we've been
This conversation
trying-
goes on and on, but that's, I think, the latest iteration of the conversation, is my recollection.
Right, it was discussed, but we didn't have the money. We
Yeah.
didn't wanna, you know,
But
appropriate
everybody
it.
agreed that we need that sort of approach, so,
Well, I have, there's a, having worked in media all my life, I'm a little reluctant to have, you know, a government media person, because they're basically, they're a PR person, and sometimes the ones I've dealt with, they're spin doctors, so we have to be very careful about what they do and don't do. So I don't think we need someone who's gonna spin the council's positions.
no. But I think one way or another, we're gonna be communicating, right? It's just who's doing that communicating, how are they doing it, how often is it happening?
But what are they gonna
platforms,
communicate?
what platforms do they use
Right,
to communicate?
But my question is, what are they gonna communicate?
Okay, let's bring
So
up,
many
for
things.
instance, let's
Yeah.
talk about brush and yard waste.
Okay,
Because
no,
we've been
that's-
talking about that a lot on Cliff, okay, and brush and yard waste, and how do we communicate with the public about what the dates are, what the expectations are, what people need to do in between dates, you know, where people can bring their brush and yard waste for disposal between. You know, there's a number of things, and that's just one issue. You know, we could talk about parking management, we could talk about, you know, any of these number of things that come up, you know, regularly.
Well, and just information, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has access to an audience instantly. And the problem is, like, if I open my Facebook right now, it's all videos of people who were standing there with us, taking pictures and videos of the fire, right?
Yeah.
And then people chime in, and stories start, and nobody knows anything, but everybody's got an idea. And I think that I think that people would like to have one reliable place to go for information, because if they get that information from the city and it feels like it's given confidently, then they are not guessing, you know, well, this person said that, but they are always, you know, they always have crazy ideas, or this person has a connection at City Hall, so they probably know. Like, if it comes from the city and it's trustworthy and it's fact-based, then there's a one stop, you know? Like, I
So
even
there
thought
would be a
about,
public information officer
yes,
Yeah, that's,
sending,
not a PR
monitoring
person.
Yes.
social media and
Yes.
Correct.
correcting it.
And not even just moderating social media, but like being on the forefront, being able to give the information quickly, and then being the place that we can always direct people back to. Like, if you want factual information, this is where you get it.
Right, so I think that's a good idea, but my concern is, I don't want it to be political.
sure. So
So-
I think the
It shouldn't
difference
be.
here is that what we're talking about is like, this is getting out factual information, like,
It's
there's a
like-
fire, here's the facts about it. You know, you wanna take care of the brush and yard waste in your yard, here's how you do that. What, we're not talking about, political positions, you know, being put out here.
Right, but see,
So-
the thing is, when it comes to reporting to the public about the council, that's my main concern.
I don't think that would be the role of this person, at least not the way that I see it.
Right,
Even
so-
if it was, if I can, sorry.
Yeah.
But even if that were the role of, so public information officer, I tend to immediately think of emergency management, but there is
Mhm.
also that functionality that our office is performing in here.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, and
it's
I'm
not
all for
up
that
to,
part.
it's not up to that person really relaying the information to put any political spin on it.
Right.
This is
Here's
the
what
fact of
happened.
what happened. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out at this number.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
more a point of, an information relay with a specific point of contact.
Yeah, and I can see how things would,
That kind of thing is, makes sense, and
Yeah.
I'm on board with that. I just, having dealt with so many PR people that work for various parts of the government, various state government, local government, city government, all that,
Oh, yeah.
it always gets very political, and I would like to avoid that.
Yeah,
Sure. I think that's a fair
absolutely.
concern.
because you know, thinking about it, I can see how, you know, even just relaying facts about like the airport, for instance, you know, like that could become,
Very controversial.
but
Yeah,
yes, it becomes controversial. Even, yeah, AI, you know, any of those things, you know, can become more controversial, but I think that is where it behooves us to have one central way of, or a central way of communicating the facts so that people know what those facts are. Because in a vacuum, they're gonna fill it in. I mean, and we see that happening
Exactly.
right now with what's going on with the D Street Law fire, and sitting down here and talking with Carrie about what is actually happening versus what we were seeing on, happening, explode on Facebook. It's very different stories.
So how can we have a brief, sentence or two statement that we can talk to, bring up when I give a report on what we're talking about to the council?
Well,
What do you want me to tell them that we're looking at, we're considering?
Well, we did discuss pretty at length during the budget process what a communications officer would look like. And I think the intention of the mayor informing this committee was not just the website. I think that's where we sort of decided to start. But I think it was because we weren't able to add that position to be able to not stop that idea and that work that we want that person to be doing. So, to answer your question quickly, I would say we talked more about the idea of having a public information officer that we discussed during the budget cycle last year. But I think one thing that I remember from our first meeting, I think I've only been able to be at 2 of these meetings so far.
Yeah, we've not all overlapped. This is the first time that we've all been
Okay.
meeting together, actually.
Yeah.
So, but what I remember was, and you may have provided this to us, Carrie, I'm sorry, I didn't, but was an idea of like how communication flows now. And one of the issues that was identified, because we had said internal communication and external communication.
Yes.
So the public communications officer, public information officer would be an external communication to the community, but they need to get the information. And right now, like, because Carrie is pretty much doing that. It's not her full-time job, but she's doing that on our behalf. And we're basically talking about splitting that work so that one person can focus on it. But, like, so for example, and I'm just gonna keep going back, we had like a situation today that is of interest to the community, right? So it's a really great example. People, said to me, well, like, what happened? Like, what do you know? And I'm like, we don't know anything yet. I know that I went there and I watched it happen. It got pretty big and it was wild. They just knocked it down and the fire's out and they blocked off the street, and that's what I know. But I can't get into, we'll know in a couple of days. The public communications officer, like, I'll probably know when the community knows, because I'll find out from,
Press release just went out.
okay, I'll find out from a press release or the paper or whatever. The idea would be to also enhance internal communications so that we can all be having the same information and all be telling the same story, so that we stop with, well, I heard this from Councilmember Mosher Campoli. Oh, well, I don't know that, so I don't know how true that is, and then we're sort of undercutting, each other. But so we have to work on who has information, what
Well-
information they need, how they get it, how
Well,
quickly they get it, how it
That's what I want to
flows.
talk about right now.
Okay,
So,
excellent.
Carrie,
So that's the strategic communication
You're
plan, by the
really
way. That's
looking
why
at-
we're here.
adding
the
a
fuller-
full
Yeah.
part-time person.
She is a temporary full-time person.
Who is?
Temporary full-time.
Who's that?
Debbie.
Sorry?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, the third person in the
Yeah.
clerk's office.
But
And
that's for
she's
the,
on leave right now,
Yes,
right?
she'll be back in a week or two.
But, so the thing is, can we, I thought she was part-time, but she's full-time. Having someone in your office doing this kind of thing, could it be a part-time
No.
person? It'd have to be a full-time.
I think public information is a full-time, and I have to be rude, I'm sorry, just one
No, no,
second.
no.
okay.
It's a repeated
Yeah.
phone call.
No, go for it. There's a
But
lot
I
going
agree.
on.
So, it went down in
Yeah.
flames last time, so how do we?
That's it.
Well, no, let's be practical
No,
as.
I'm just
this
saying,
is-
I'm just
this
saying
is-
for today, that's a touchy.
kind of
Oh,
wait,
oh,
wait,
yeah, sorry.
that's-
It did fail
It did,
last
it
time.
did.
But it
So
didn't
wait a minute,
really
let me finish.
fail, because we
Yeah.
were in agreement, and then we went, oh, we can't
Yes.
spend any of this money.
Right,
Agreed.
so here's the question, I think in terms of practicality here. So we would have to sell it And to do that, we'd have to know how much it's gonna cost, right?
I think we just have to fund it. I
Yeah.
don't think we have to sell it. I think
Well, no, we have
everybody,
to.
We have to agree to.
Because
I think
we
everybody who's
didn't-
on council
it
is in
failed
favor
last
of
time.
it, but it's because we didn't have the money.
Yeah,
It'll be the same thing this time. You have to, so if we're gonna buy it, we have, it's gotta sparkle, right? You know,
Well,
and-
No, because we're all on board with the
Yeah.
idea, we have to figure out how we're gonna
But
fund it.
maybe,
Those are two
but
different
we didn't
things.
have 5
Yes.
votes for funding it. So what I'm saying is we have
We
to have a
didn't have
very.
5 votes for funding anything.
and yeah, that's the thing. It came down to, it came down to funding.
It was like
I
that
think
and
this comes down
cybersecurity
to-
insurance.
This is a priority, and if it was a priority last year,
You're
we should
missing
continue to
what I'm
prioritize.
saying.
okay.
If we do it the same way, the same approach as last time, it might not pass. So what I'm suggesting is we think about how to present an issue and say, here's
Okay.
why we think this is very important and
Sure.
here's what it's gonna cost.
So I'm saying, I guess the next step of that is that I feel like the importance has already been proven.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out how much it's going to cost and then figure out how we're going to pay
Yeah,
for
I
it.
agree, because I think every single one of us agreed this is important. I don't think anybody said we don't need
I
this.
don't think so either.
What my recollection is that everybody agreed that this was need. I don't think we need to put sparkle on it. I think what we need to do is we need to put the money behind it and
Yeah.
invest in this.
Yeah, and I
Well,
think one of the
But
things
there's
that.
there's gonna be 50 other things that people are gonna come up with that is
Well,
gonna
but
cost money.
but those 50 things also didn't come up last year probably,
So one of the things that I think we do need to do that I vaguely remember us talking about was, and I think this is a civil service thing, so maybe they could help us or get that ball rolling in terms of a job description. But I think that that was one thing, because we had talked about sort of lumping this in with the city administrator assistant position.
Okay, yeah.
And so I
This
think
made me want to go back and review those
Yeah,
materials
I
again.
think that one of the concerns was that, and I think that's actually a great idea, because that's like a point person who has direct access to the city administrator, and they can also kind of like liaise with the community on his behalf, but we wanted to define the scope of this job at the time, and so I think that's some of the work that either we could be doing here, or we could be asking the Civil Service Commission to do
Yeah.
in collaboration with us, because I think we should define the goals, right, if we're gonna create
We
a
should
position.
define the role and figure out what it's gonna
I'm
cost.
curious if Carrie has thought about that before.
This one written.
Okay,
Hey!
I was gonna say, because I feel like every time that we're like, wouldn't it be great, and we turn around, and
You're
we're like,
like,
I did prepare that. So, I mean, that would be, I think, a
Yeah.
very
So
logical
maybe
place to
could we
start.
review that
Yeah.
at our next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll bullet
That would be great. Because the other thing that I wanna go back is, I wanna go back and look at my 2026 budget notes and look at, what it was that proposal was that we were looking at. and
Sure.
Look at that as
With
well.
the assistant to the city
Well,
administrator?
I wanna.
Well, I just
put
wanna
it-
see what it was I just wanna remind myself what we did last year, so that, whatever it is that we do this year, hopefully it can be more successful.
When it comes to spending money, I'm very cautious. So one of the things that we all hear
I
about
mean,
all the
insane,
time is,
so,
one of the things we hear about all the time is affordability.
Mhm.
And it's easy to spend other people's money, which is what we do. We take money from people and then we spend it. That's what government does, right? We have taxes and we spend the money on things that we believe has to be done. We have to make a strong argument as to why we want to spend $60,000 or something of the
Yeah.
people's money that we haven't done in the past.
yeah,
I think that's a serious thing.
I agree.
And
But
because,
only if it
again, to
increases
say
the
that,
overall
you know,
budget.
Yeah.
the city administrator needs an assistant, we're getting bigger and bigger, and there was, discussion about, the city becoming, starting a garbage department, a sanitation department. That would be millions and millions of dollars, that's a lot of, responsibility and a lot of money. It's a good idea, but do we really want to do that? Can we really
Well, it's-
figure out how to do that, efficiently?
Yeah.
So
I think,
if we're going to request that the council consider this, I want a really strong argument.
Sure.
Mhm.
I think, I'm prepared to argue at all times.
Yeah.
I think that, I think
Oh,
that,
that's not my notes. I know I kept some of them.
I think that you're thinking of this in straight addition terms, but there's balance, right? There's give and take. So we are, for example, looking at ways that we can reduce the fire department overtime budget and shifting that, right? So that's, and so I'm saying like that theoretically could go down
If
and
we
this
can
could go
show
up,
that we're
so,
gonna save money here and move it over there,
right.
that's an easy sell.
Right, so that's the thing, is these things don't necessarily need to increase the budget. We need to be also cognizant of the ways in which we will prioritize and balance
Right,
the things, the priorities, the things we wanna do.
absolutely.
So, just keep that in mind,
Yeah.
because I think that it's total, and I'm with you, I hate to spend money,
Well, I don't hate to spend money, as long as it makes sense, then we're in the business of running a municipal government, it's
yeah,
gonna
I mean,
cost money.
I hate it, I'm
But
very cheap.
all I hear about, when I talk to people, it's affordability and taxes and all that, and then when I turn on the news, it's affordability.
It is.
And it's a,
Because it's an issue that impacts everybody, everywhere, the
Right.
cost of living is going up.
Totally.
the cost
It
of
is,
tomatoes went up like
40% or something?
something, I think that was the number.
Yeah.
And I eat tomatoes a couple of times a week. I never, I've got a relatively small car, and usually when I get half a tank of gas, I go fill it up.
Right.
Because one time a mechanic told me that if you run it down to the bottom,
Yeah,
it hurts your car
sure.
somehow. I forget exactly what that was all about, but anyway, for the first time ever, it cost me almost $60 to fill my tank. I thought that was outrageous. And I used to spend about $80 when I went to Hannaford, and now I spend about $160. So that's a big
Yeah.
difference. So I don't want to.
You've got shopping
I
for
don't
family.
want to hear.
Right.
I don't want to hear people saying that you're not aware of the affordability crisis and you're adding staff. We have to be very careful about how we present this and how we're going to pay
Well,
for it.
Right,
Think
well,
about-
again, it's not, it could be an addition, and it could expand the budget, or it could be a shift in priorities within the existing budget.
That's an excellent way to present it.
Yeah. The other thing I think about is how much time and effort is spent by council and city staff combating misinformation.
It's a lot.
And
Well,
dispelling,
that's sort of our job,
Sure.
but
when we're out in public.
We could be more effective.
But I think that is also a function of the digital world that we live in, and the
Mhm.
proliferation that is very easy through social media, and AI, okay? AI
Yeah,
poses
it's
some
a-
challenges
it's
to
a
us that
It's a
are,
big challenge.
and I was saying this last year, that part of what I see is that we are falling behind, on keeping up with communication. And as time goes by, that gap is just gonna get bigger and bigger.
Well,
And so I see this as a way that,
What I'm requesting from our committee is that we come up with a one-paragraph pitch that we can say, here's what we're talking about,
Mhm.
and then we'll flesh it out over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what
how's
I,
it next
what I,
month?
That could be based
Yeah.
on the
well,
job description.
what I'm
Yeah.
asking for right now is I'm going to be asked to give a summary of what we talked about here today, and what do you want me to say about the public information officer?
oh, I think say that, we're gonna be, reviewing this for potential proposal at budget season again, and we're gonna, check out the job description that has been developed for
So-
consideration.
In the job description briefly.
Right, is that what it is, a job
do you have
description,
something?
or-
Kind of, it's so, full
Proposal?
disclosure, it's geared with a particular person in mind.
Okay.
That's okay.
But, yeah, that's what I had
Well,
written.
can you give me 3 bullet points of what they will do?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, no, I can send that your way. I'm trying to find it on my computer here right now.
So
and send it.
can you send me that in an email?
Yeah.
So I can, when we give, because I just need a very, when you do the committee report, you don't want to go more than 2 minutes or something, so,
No,
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
no problem.
All right,
so we need to develop, I think the communication officer is one part of the strategic communications plan. We need to develop internal and external communication
right, I
strategies.
wrote that down.
In order to do that, we have to understand what our existing internal and external communications look like. I remember seeing a document that had all of our existing ways that we communicate with the community. I think potentially slightly more difficult might be identifying internal communication processes and how information flows, because it's probably not the same every single time. But maybe we could kind of synthesize that into something, or maybe we ignore it entirely and we say, this is how we want it to work, ideally, right? We don't even look at what happens now, and we just say, it should go bing, bang, boom. The thing that I think might help with that, and I hate to call it back, you guys weren't there, were you? Were you there? I don't know. The full day thing
Yeah.
where we sat in a room for a full day and talked about, okay, so the approach was who needs what information and the ways that information flows from like the community to council, council to the community to the mayor to the community, council to the mayor to the community, mayor to the council. You know what I mean? All of the interconnectedness of who needs what information
All the points, yeah.
and where that information should come from. And this guy, this consultant, put all of that into a document for us, and it might be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Primarily because it's sourced by the stakeholders. Like it was it wasn't everybody. It was like department heads and council members, and I don't know who else was there. I think it might have just been department heads and council members.
Representatives and council members.
But it's the people who, right, like, it's not just what other communities do, whatever, it's like, these people all sat around a table and had a conversation
The
about
information
what
flow, it
information,
sounds like, yeah.
what information we need and we could reasonably expect. A lot of it, I have to say, and some of this may be addressed in the emergency management thing that we're gonna end up doing. A lot of it was based around things like what happened today,
Yeah.
where there's a big thing and maybe some of the information is sensitive, and how do we, slow drip that out into the community in a way that's appropriate, without allowing, like you said, that
Yeah.
vacuum to kind of
Yeah.
fill itself in. So that was a big topic of conversation, but yeah, like I say, that might be good data to start with because it's sourced from people who work at the city, and if nothing else, it's that feedback.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know if it might be too cumbersome to put together. Like, here's what happens now, and we may, like I say, just want to ignore that and say, here's what we think should happen based on this document. So I know I have it somewhere in my email. I'm sure Carrie could probably find it faster.
The report from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Did it say? Did it have our stuff on it? The things I just remember the index
There was a
cards.
summary of discussion. There was no plan.
I know. Yeah.
So there's no action.
That's a pain point for me.
listed?
Nope. No, there was not. But if there was a summary of the discussion, that's helpful.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that listing, you said.
I said if there was a summary of the discussion, that's at least helpful to,
Oh, helpful. I
Give
didn't
us
hear that.
yeah, give us a jumping off point. So we're not going in blind. I don't know. I mean, who gets, like, so for example, let's just parse out today's information, right? So the fire department knows the most. The fire department and the police department know the most. The fire department and the police department tell DPW a little bit. Because they needed, not really, because they needed to do the barricades.
So
but,
they're directed as far, they're on scene, given direction,
but they don't know what happened.
not necessarily.
So yeah, so that's the other thing is like, what is the information, right? People want to know the practicality of it, like this road is closed at XYZ, but then also they want to know what happened, and those things are not always available at the same time. Carrie, who does our communicating with the public, and the mayor, who should also be partaking in that.
Mhm. Who's involved today?
You guys, what do you know? How do you get information?
I was there.
Uh-huh. Okay. So you know what I know, which which is that there was a
I
fire.
know a little
Yep.
bit more now.
Sure.
Because I've had a follow-up phone call,
Okay,
but
so how do we get what can be shared with the community from the people who know it? Because the other part of that we've talked about is
Well,
they're busy, like they're doing
I
stuff
think
right now. They're not
Right.
just like, we don't need to tell this
Kevin, you
anymore.
got
They're like
information
working.
From the fire
I,
chief.
so past events, I have spoken with the fire chief while on scene. I'm familiar with and operate under the incident command system. I understand my role, like, as essentially acting at that point as the PIO.
The-
He tells me what's able to go out, I formulate it,
Right,
gone.
but didn't you talk to the chief today? Oh, who were you talking to on the phone when you were writing the?
That was talking to Dan, who was talking to, I heard, police department in the background.
Got it,
Okay.
okay. So the basic information came from the police department.
After, I
Okay.
mean, Dan had spoken with the fire department, so I'm sure there was a combination. but-
So
Okay.
so it went through the mayor, then to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so that worked today, but it was a little delayed as
It's
far as
delayed
the
and it's
social
not
media.
ideal.
Right.
Right.
Because Daily Star was up there almost immediately with
Mhm.
pictures
And
and
people are like,
statements.
please follow
Uh-huh.
them. And they can't because
Yeah.
they don't
Right.
have access to information
Right.
either.
Right.
So they're,
But
like,
there-
getting the
then there's
information out there.
accusations that they're just trying to withhold information,
Right.
but it's, yeah.
They don't have access
There
to
are
it
days
either.
when they don't have a reporter available.
Right.
too, so.
So they say, this is happening, but they don't have any details.
Right.
And then people they start going like, well, I bet it was
They
whatever.
make up their own,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's a rumor mill, and
Yeah.
it's not delicious,
No,
but
Some
I
of it
heard
is.
this.
sometimes
I
it's
was first
delicious.
alerted by somebody in my office who came in and said, did you hear Beach Street is on,
Yeah.
lots are on fire?
oh yeah, I got like 3
So,
texts about it while I
yeah.
was standing there. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, I've heard.
And who was,
Yeah.
that just was a constituents or people you know?
No, people I know that sent me like videos that people had taken, and I was like,
Right.
yep, looks just
Yeah.
like that. Yep. So I mean, it was already going around like while I was there
That is
watching it
that.
happen.
Yep, that's what I was saying
Yeah.
about, how fast these
It's
things
so fast.
spread and, like,
Yeah. Oh, that must be
Before-
from that guy right there.
yeah,
You know?
before most of us knew about it, it's
Mhm.
already, like,
Right.
spread so far on,
Right.
social media. And the message is really, out of,
I want
yeah, out of control.
Yeah,
if you'll
sprawls.
indulge
Yeah.
me, show you a 47-second video that I use in my presentations.
Okay. Oh gosh.
And it's meant to put a humorous spin on it,
Oh, I like that.
but
Yeah,
I mean, and this is where we are now.
that is the truth. I mean, yeah.
Have you ever been in an earthquake?
Yeah, I mean, the one that they had here, when my daughter was an infant.
So
Yeah,
do you
it's-
think
it's
that, I mean, you said, you have training in incident command, so, I mean, I'm just wondering, like, would maybe an expectation of this person would be to travel to incidents
That's
and
Well, of
have
course
a
they would
credential
do
to
that.
be able to, well, I know, but we're talking about the scope of their work, and we're also talking about where they fit into city communications, right? The internal communication, they need to be obviously on scene, but they also need to have like a credential to be there. So it would be their expectation that, the fire chief would take 5 minutes to talk to this person about what information can go out.
But
That's the
they're
other
a city
thing is-
employee that people,
They know
department
this is
heads
the
would
person that I have to
when
talk
there's
to.
something to, an incident.
Right.
And I've never been denied access
Oh, I'm sure,
to a city fire or police. I tend not to go to the police ones, but.
sure. But there was a shooting
But
in
yeah,
my neighborhood
Yeah.
last year, 2
Yeah.
years ago, and everybody was like, there's somebody on the loose with a gun. And same, I call Chris and he calls me right back and he tells me what I can say and what I can't say. And it's great. And it doesn't have to be, it's nice to be the person because then you know and you're at ease and you can tell people. But
then,
having somebody, yeah,
not
go
to
ahead.
interrupt, but to piggyback directly on that statement, you're calling Chris, and I don't mean that as a bad
Mhm.
thing, but then Elaine's calling Chris, Donna's
Yeah,
calling
yeah,
Chris.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So-
Yes.
Right.
Having that one
Fully.
point where, oh gosh, something happened, I know I can call Jane Doe,
Yeah.
and Jane Doe has spoken with the chief,
Centralized,
and will say,
yeah.
this is what's
Yeah.
happening.
Essentially, they were working as a reporter, collecting the
There are
information and
internal
disseminating it.
reporters.
Yeah, information officer. I
Mhm.
think
Right, but I
that's-
mean, they collect information and disseminate it.
Yes.
Appropriately.
Yes.
appropriately.
Right. And I think there is a concern, right? We are elected lay people. If you have someone who is a professional communications officer, you know that that person, or I shouldn't say you, the chief of police knows that that person is going to share the information that is appropriate to be shared at this point without compromising
Mhm.
any ongoing investigation or, you know, and so I think that there's also a level of, in addition to not being 8 people individually
Yeah.
plus the mayor calling, it being just one person, it's like, it's one person who does this professionally. And so I think that would put a lot of minds at ease in terms of, and just make it a little easier to share pertinent information.
Okay, so that, in an emergency situation, would we know what the person would be up to? What
Yeah.
would they would have to do, rather?
Mhm.
So, if I was writing a story about what took place at the council meeting yesterday, you know what my headline would be? I wrote it when I was,
I don't, because I wasn't here.
what's that?
I said I don't know because I wasn't here.
Oh, okay, that's right. But I bet this is not gonna be in the newspaper tomorrow. So what would the public information officer, how would they handle this? So here's my story. The city is getting a $500,000 bonus from the state. Every year, the city gets something called the Temporary Municipal Assistance Fund. Every year, the city gets something called Temporary Municipal Assistance Funding. This year, the TMA, I have, my left eye is almost blind, I'm having a little difficulty there. But this year, the TMA is $750,000, $500,000 more than last year's fund.
Cool, yeah.
And, well, you were at the meeting, did you know that?
Yes,
Yeah, but we never talked about it. We're getting $500,000 more than we thought.
Yeah, that's funny.
So my question is, what would the public information officer tell the public?
well, I think that's a really nice point, right? Because I think what the newspaper will report on is that we talked about going into a committee of the whole, which is not necessarily something that the public needs to know unless someone watched the meeting and had a question about it and asked the public information officer, then I would expect them to say, yes, they're discussing the efficiency of the current committee structure and we'll make an announcement if any changes are made.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Right.
that's an important thing that we're doing.
Right.
So how
But
would the
it's not
public
the
information
important
officer?
thing, right?
So would the public information officer notify the public about that?
No, so that's my point, is it's like, that's not the important work that we did. I think you had identified something that would be great for the community to know.
Right, so the public information officer would sit in at the meetings, our council meetings, and send out a press release on what we did?
I think
Is that what we
I
want?
think the details, I would like to review the proposal first.
Sure,
and
sure,
then
sure.
look at
Right.
For more, you know, 'cause
Sure.
I think that's getting down to more of the nitty gritty, but I think those are all potentials.
Well, see,
Like I said, I think it could
that's the
be-
thing, with- I'm just,
But
it's a concern, like, for the emergency situation, I think it's obvious what
Yeah.
we do. But for council meetings, what the clerk's office is doing, what the
Well-
city administrator is doing, what the mayor is doing, that's where that's my concern.
Well, I think it's less about like
Mhm.
reporting on the work
Yeah.
and more about like, hey, water bills are coming out. People
Yes.
need to know that they have until April 30th to pay their water bill without penalty, that they can have a payment plan, that they can, so it's basically taking those pain points from the community and getting the information out there in a way that they can preempt some of the agita that
Yeah.
people are feeling.
Like-
And I just,
The brush and yard waste, for instance,
Yeah.
that's a big point, right,
Huge.
that people talk about a
Right.
lot, that's something that, could
Right.
be discussed, like announced ahead of time,
Right.
talked about throughout the season, it could be addressed regularly, okay? Next week, I'm doing an education, session where I have somebody from public health coming to talk about tick education. Maybe they could put out a blurb about tick,
Sure.
safety after that, and that would be like a
So-
one-time thing.
and so I
I
think
think
it's,
it's gonna be some different
But,
things.
but
Yeah.
Katie, back
Well, wait,
to
no, I
what-
just
what
wanna
your
say,
point, okay.
my point about the fact, like, what you picked out, that would be good public information. Well, they talked about this for a long time,
Yeah.
people don't need to know that stuff.
Yeah,
If they're
agreed.
curious, they'll ask.
Right,
So I think that's just a good example of what a public information officer does versus what a reporter
Reporter,
does.
yeah.
Well,
that's where I
so-
see the
Well, that's
difference,
the
too.
question that I have for you. So you talked about I think, the water bill, right? Water
Mm-hmm.
and sewer bills go out.
Mhm.
So would the public information officer in that announcement include what the rate was? The increase?
That would be up to the professional.
Yeah, I think that's where we get down to,
Yeah,
So
I think
you
would
see what I'm
need to
saying?
include it
I
because
do.
the public needs to understand what their minimum bill is comprised of.
Right,
I think it's
Right.
just clarifying for the public, okay, great, this bill is going out, you can expect it to be mailed by March, whatever.
Yeah.
The information you noted about the timelines, the fact that they can appeal it if they feel that there is an
Yeah.
issue in the process
right,
with
people
that.
don't know
They
that.
could
Yeah.
inform people during the budget process, like what the
Ugh,
results
that would
are.
be amazing.
Like sharing some of those information
Mhm.
about like, this is, they don't have to give like details about the budget, but they could say,
The spark.
the council budget process is starting, the first budget meeting is on this date, and on that
the
date, they're
public is
gonna,
welcome to attend.
yeah, like things like that.
Right.
I see it as more of those black and white, like, I hear that you're thinking of it as a reporter role, I'm not thinking
No,
about it
I,
as a.
I'm not, I don't want it to be a reporter role.
Right, so what I'm seeing it as, we're really looking at, what are these, very factual kinds of things that, we can put together, a piece of information, the same kinds of things that Carrie is putting together
Right.
and we're putting out on Facebook. I mean, I really think about that. Those are really the essential things,
Right.
it's like job announcements,
Okay,
city services,
Yeah.
council actions, but not council discussions, per
Right.
se.
okay,
Right.
Things like that.
all right, so should we move on? Because I think we
Sure.
have one more item.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Are
I
you
mentioned
comfortable
the
about your
mayor's
report?
weekly-
Yeah. Are you good
Earlier,
with
I
that?
thought. Yes, I am,
Okay, great.
yes. So the mayor's weekly videos, I mentioned 80 to 100 views, and it's hopefully going up, right? And the last item is, so I wanted to, we haven't all been together to
Right,
discuss the
yeah,
meeting day and time.
times, yeah.
So
Because I
right
think
now,
you
I
were
believe
looking
it's the
at that.
first Wednesday of the month.
Yes, the regularly scheduled,
Yes,
but
Regu-
for the
right.
next month,
So it's the first Wednesday,
yes. Which I know in August, I will not be available for the first Wednesday, but I guess we
I
gotta
know
talk
I'm
about the overall
going
schedule.
to visit Maine sometime in August. I don't have the dates in front of me.
Sharing the press release.
And the time is okay, 6:30?
I mean,
We can
earlier
make it-
would be
so it was
better,
set for five.
I think that
5 o'clock is the normal time, first
Yeah.
Wednesday at 5.
this,
Okay.
we were just trying to make sure that we could all get together.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
if we could meet earlier than 6:30, I would really appreciate it.
5 is
because
fine.
I had to leave dinner for my family.
Yeah, okay.
I just
So-
I came right from soccer practice, so
Oh, yeah.
for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I have soccer practice from 5 to 6. But after
But we're
not
not
that,
having until July.
Yeah.
right,
our
we're not
next
meeting
meeting
till
is
July,
in
then we can go
July.
back to 5.
Like, it
and
would be the
meet-
first at
So
5?
July 1st at 5 is what I have you for July.
Okay.
August, we moved to August 6th at 6 o'clock.
Oh, that's right, because we did move it, because I said I wasn't
Because
available
you
there.
were
Okay,
gonna- yeah.
so the 6th
So-
at 6, yes, I have that.
July, what was the date?
July 1st at 5.
Mhm.
August 6th at 6.
Okay, I do have that down,
My
thank you.
August,
I forgot we
August
changed
6th,
that.
Changed it,
Thank
we had a
you, that's so
conversation.
good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and August 6th at what time?
6 o'clock.
6 p.m.?
And then back to your regularly scheduled program starting in September.
I mean, so far that looks fine for me, it's just,
Right.
and thank you guys for flexing with
That's
the
fine.
August one, so that we can all.
Okay, we got
Especially
that,
the winter budget,
we got that
would be-
done.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well,
Okay.
we went actually a little long, but that's okay.
6 minutes,
Not too
but we
bad.
didn't start until 35,
That's
or
true.
6:35.
But we're not officially over yet anyway.
Right, you haven't hit adjourn.